in a large 600-bedded hospital, and I look after only, my field of interest is hematology. I've always done only hematology. I do not know and do biochemistry or histopathology. So just to say, why I chose this title as novel parameters, workload which may be small.
Small.
So starting my life from here, I now have these two XNs. This is my lab now, which is the highest ended Sysmex model right now, 2XN 1000. If you integrate both of them on the same machine and you have one system, they become XN 2000. But we use them as two separate machines. Because if they are together and one fails or I don't have reagent for one, then you can't choose both. So I use them both individually. And the reason we went in for 5-part differential of the XN model was because they were giving us these parameters of nucleated RBCs, platelet F, which I will tell you, hematopoietic precursor cells, reticulocyte hemoglobin content, and the immature platelet fraction. But if you see the screen of the XN, it is scary because there are so many parameters. Okay, and I will show you. And these are the various scattergrams that you get. Okay, so these are all new to us: WNR scattergram, WDF, WPC, all that. And on all these machines, new machines, you have something called reported parameters and something called research parameters. So reported parameters are all that is FDA approved that you can release to the patient. But even if you see the reported parameters which are new here, these are all what was already there, right? RBC, hemoglobin, MCV, MCH, RDW, we are all using. But you see now that you have NRBCs, you have different type of platelet parameters, you have IPF, you have automated reticulocyte count. So even in the reported parameters now, so many of the indices have increased.
So what do you mean by XN?
XN is the model.
Is a model.
Yeah, the new model.
It is a 5-part differential.
This is Sysmex XN is what I use.
Okay.
What I showed you was a KX21.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the model that I'm using now. And these are all the research parameters. Again, so much information you have. And if you have a committed hematology setup like how I have, they can be of great use, but these are all research parameters. They have to be used along with the other indices. You can't use them individually by themselves. I will show you cases. Basically what today I have is put together my own cases from my lab, which have helped us make diagnosis. Again, research parameters. So the question that I said is, are we okay going back to this? Or do we want to get confused with all this? And as I take you through the cases, I think the conclusion will be it is worth adding newer parameters and going forward. And so I began, really my interest started when looking at the scattergrams 6-7 years ago, because as we grew we had just too many slides, and how we handle our lab is that we have 10 consultants which each one looks after their own field. The ones in histopath will do only histopath biochemistry. We have 4 MD micros, 3 MD biochemistry. It's a large hospital and we don't overlap. But it so happened in 2009 I was alone for a while. And as you all will agree that most of our lab support comes from the technicians. So when I was alone, I said, let us see whether my senior technicians and I can do something in which we start looking at machines, get more information, and what we do is only the MDs see the slides. Technicians can't report slides. So I said, if they and I sit together and we start looking at our screens, can I cut down on reviewing slides? That was my purpose of, after around 10 years of having counters, in 2009 I really started looking at my scattergrams on the machines. So this is that time I had an XC 2100, and this is how a normal sample would look. All these indices we had, and this is a clean, no flags. So if I had a sample like this saying CBC with peripheral smear in hospital, most of the time they ask for peripheral smear also. I would just release the report first if there was no flag. So this is after doing a lot. We run our controls, we already had NMDL, we had interlab. So we started seeing this and releasing reports. Not reading slides, and there was clean flags. And this particular machine had 4 types of WBC differentials it would give. One channel dedicated to WBC and basophils, one for NRBC, and this IMI, which gave us an immature WBC and hematopoietic progenitor cells, and a dedicated reticulocyte channel. So you could do the retic count automatically. So then, platelet optically. There are two ways of counting platelet. In the retic channel, in this channel you could give a, see what all counters are doing are counting the platelet by impedance method. That's the
Size.
basic. In this, optical counting was done, but for that you required a special reagent in the reticulocyte channel. So in that channel you could get a retic count and the platelet by optical. And the machine itself uses an algorithm because optical was supposed to be better. So if there was a difference, it would give the optical count. That is what you set in the machine. So first we started seeing whether we could look at the cases of anemia, look at the flags alone and see whether we could come to some sort of a diagnosis looking at the flags. So I'll just focus on how I set this for my boys. Don't want an animated slide to take time. Okay. So we said if we had a low hemoglobin and we had a reticulocyte count, whether looking at the retic and the other indices, we could come to some sort of a diagnosis. So looking at the reticulocyte response, if it was high, we would look at whether, think in terms of hemolysis. If the retic response was low and the indices, purely going by MCV, we said let us see whether we can categorize microcytic, normochromic and macrocytic anemias, going by the histogram. This is only between technicians and I, and then seeing whether the clinician was going to advise further biochemistry or not. So this is a case which came from pediatrics, an 8-year-old girl with tiredness and pallor and nothing else. Now everybody wants their reports fast, right? So if you run the sample and see a smear, it takes time and when you're alone. So then we said, okay, let us see whether this machine can give us any information. So if you see the hemoglobin is 7.9, MCV is 62, which is low, hematocrit is low, and you see the flags here. Machine is telling you it is hypochromic microcytic iron deficiency. Now you have an 8-year-old girl who has anemia. She has low indices. I would safely, because I had already done so much of validation studies, release this report and look at the smear later. So as I go through, I want you to see is that there is lot of information on your machine. Your 3-part may not give this final thing, microcytic, hypochromic.
But how much reliable it is?
I would say very reliable. For RBC, morphology and indices, extremely reliable.
So then why do we have to see the flags if it is anyway coming there?
No, flags, it's on the screen, right? You have this.
Sorry, the
indices.
scatterograms. So we have to see the scatterograms.
No. Right now, for the morphology, there is no scattergram. I'm just saying the flags that have been given. If you see the indices and you see this, it correlates. And then if you see the smear, it correlates, right? Really hypochromic. I'm saying in a scenario like mine, where I have 600 samples, and this I'm talking of the 2009 time when we are alone. We thought that the machine is giving us, I'm not saying that perfect, I will show you the imperfect also. These are all real-time cases that I have. But it gives you sufficient
Your
information.
report also mentioned very glass.
Yes.
So how do you?
So that, because you see, the monocytes are high,
Okay.
10.9. Sometimes the blasts go there.
Because they're larger.
Yes, they're larger. They would get counted there.
Good observation.
No, I will come to that also. Right now, these cases are going to be only of the RBC morphology. Then we said, let us look at the RBC histogram. Whether we can use, everybody uses RDW now, right? But whether we can use RDW and MCV and then come to some conclusion, because we get a lot, and actually most of my cases later on will be from the Bengali population. We get a lot of Northeast, we get a lot of Thal traits, we get. And they come to us, so we have two big problems. So we have two big problems with the Bengali patients, the Thal and their large platelets. And I think we have made a significant contribution. Actually, that is what I presented in Chicago. I was telling you about the large platelets of the Bengali. So SD I don't use. I don't know whether anybody uses standard deviation of the RDW and common factors. But standard deviation, CV, RDW cutoff is the common indicator you take to rule out between Thal trait and iron deficiency anemia. And what is RDW? Basically, these are all hydrodynamic focusing principles. So if all RBCs have a normal size, you get a Gaussian curve. And if you see the CV over here, with 68.26% of the distribution curve should be the normal cell population. It is an indicator of the anisocytosis basically. So if you have all normal RBC size, a CV of less than 15 is considered normal. But if you have variable size and a lot of anisocytosis, the CV is usually higher. So then we use this cutoff. Let's take only MCV and
Can you just
RDW.
repeat how to diagnose THAL from
Here.
RDW-CV?
Here. So this is what algorithm we used. If you take the RDW and MCV together, you can't take only RDW alone. Okay? If you combine a low RDW and a low MCV, most often than not it's a thalassemia trait. You can rule out. You will obviously advise an HP variant analysis. You will not, but you can suspect. And what happens in our hospital is that same hemoglobin, EDTA sample will then go for variant. So we don't have, and biochemistry is next door, so we don't draw the sample again. See, I'm talking from my experience of being in a hospital-based lab. Okay, because my lab is in the hospital, I get very few, and it's not a fancy lab. I don't have walk-in patients coming. Very few walk-in patients coming. Normal, because it's inside a hospital. But we are very happy with our own hospital setup. So to avoid going and drawing one more sample, it is good that we use this and then ask for further investigations. So RDW and MCV together, if it is low, we know we are dealing with sulfate. A high RDW is iron deficiency anemia. When it's severe thalassemia, intermedia or thal major, then you can get a high RDW. But then that patient will not just walk in, you already know that he's a thalassemia. So we were using it here to come to a diagnosis whether we can use it to help the patient any further. So if you see this, hemoglobin is 12.6. See the MCV. For 12.6 an MCV of 67 is very low. Okay. RBC is high. Now in THAL you know that the RBC count is high. And you see this machine is giving a microcytic hypochromic but wonderfully saying hemoglobin defect. Okay. So in this I would say, I would look at the smear, but I would say advise variant analysis. And you get hypochromic microcytic with target cells.
So if it had been an anemia of chronic disease, even the HB would have been low.
HB would not have been, now I'm coming to anemia of chronic disease.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mrinal's question comes right here. Now hemoglobin is low, but look at MCV is normal. Anemia of chronic disease, sometimes I'll come to a hypomicro also. So I'm happy, Archana, that we have a small crowd but who's at least, asking questions which are relevant. So this is coming to the case case. Hemoglobin is 9.6, but the indices are all normal. So you know that this must be a normochromic normocytic anemia. ACD is usually normochromic normocytic or hypomicro. And machine is just saying only hypochromic. Right?
ACD?
Anemia of chronic disease. Yeah. And normochromic normocytic. So that anemia of chronic disease, which now actually is called functional iron deficiency anemia, I will come to later, because for those diagnoses now we have additional parameters. Another case of a 40-year-old female with tiredness and edema, low WBC, low hemoglobin. Look at the NCV, 105. Platelets are also low. So here you need to see the smear, because you have cancer, you have megaloblastic anemia, you have a high MCV, but it could be due to any malignancy, it could be due to anything, right? But if you see here, now here it becomes important because machine is saying atypical lympho but not giving you blast. So there is a suspicion, okay, maybe it's a malignancy, but my first diagnosis would be megaloblastic. Look at the macrocytic. So machine is saying iso macro anemia. Then we thought, okay, macrocytic anemia, how do we get people with it? No, that is the article. It looks no. Yeah. So if you see megaloblastic anemia, again, if you use it with reticulocyte count, you get a fair degree of understanding whether you are dealing with a hemolytic process or a nutritional process. But the problem comes here, as she asked, in microcytic anemias. You use it with a reticulocyte count. If you have increased reticulocyte count, you look whether you have other diseases which are causing hemolysis. But a microcytic anemia with a lower retic or a normal retic response and a low serum iron, increased TIBC, decreased ferritin, you know iron deficiency. problems are with anemia of chronic disease. Thal plate, very difficult, alpha thal, sorry. Alpha thal is very difficult to say only on smear, or it's always a beta thal, because for us it's a diagnosis of exclusion because we don't do the mutation analysis. Alpha thal is not easy. And sideroblastic anemia. These three can cause real problems because they can all present as hypochromic microcytic
Alpha thal is common.
anemia.
It is common.
I told you in the Bengal. No, it's
Because
not
rare
as
in-
common as beta thal for
it-
sure, but it's not rare.
Achha, okay.
But alpha thal problems we get always a small child.
Okay.
You know, transfusion dependent anemia.
Okay.
Then we have to chase it. We send it. I think we send it to SRL for gene mutation studies, or we send for us sending the child from Bangalore to Vellore is the easiest thing to do. We don't believe in sending samples. We send the patient. But alpha thal is common. It's not as rare as we would think. Sideroblastic we get once in 6 months. But these are all after doing marrow, after doing iron, after really chasing and excluding of,
Brother,
you know, sometimes even CDAs and alpha thal we can't make up. So then, is there anything new in anemias? We saw, using the indices and the RDW, you can come to some sort of a diagnosis. But then, so are we where we were during our MBBS days? What is new in anemia? And for what is new in anemia, now the machines have started giving us right till here. The NRBC and the reticulocyte count have started coming automated. So where do I start? Now we are talking of novel parameters, right? So where have I started using them in my practice? Is a new reticulocyte channel, the red channel. The red channel I had in the XE2100, here again in the XM. So what is the red channel doing? In the red channel, the nucleic acids in the NRBC and reticulocytes are stained by a polymethyl dye after lysine reagent has perforated the red cell membrane, the cell membranes. And depending on the fluorescence, the reticulocytes are then categorized as low fluorescence, medium fluorescence, or high fluorescence reticulocytes. And the immature reticulocyte fraction reflects a part of the immature reticulocytes which is calculated from the medium fluorescence and the high fluorescence. Now this looks like a fancy channel, but it is of real use. Now if you look at this, I showed the real scattergram. This is just a picture. This is how the RBCs go in the red channel, and this is how they scatter from low fluorescence to high fluorescence. In this same channel, the question that you asked, optical platelets are also counted in the same channel. Platelet O. Platelet O, yeah. So the reticulocytes are separated from the more mature RBCs by the difference because they have varying RNA content, right? When you do a retic staining, that's also an RNA, a supravital stain, right? So same thing, depending on the RNA content is how the fluorescence scatters.
What is the relationship of platelet? I mean, there is some similarity between
In the same channel they are getting counted by the same RNA dye.
Okay, same.
I will come to. So immature platelets have RNA in them. So the same stain is taking the platelets also. So the same reticulocyte channel, we are using it for reticulocyte count and the platelet optical. Because other platelet count that you are getting normally is the impedance. This is optical count.
So it is cross verification of platelets. You must
Yes,
can we consider
yes.
that platelets are by impedance plus
Someday
optical, and then
Absolutely.
there's some averaging and then comes to us.
Now I will go further. There is a platelet fluorescence also. So you are going along with me exactly how I used my counters. So this is all going around in 2009 when I had platelet I and platelet O. Now I will show you what I'm doing in 15. Okay. So if we know these reference ranges, if you look at the medium fluorescence and high fluorescence, we know our immature reticulocyte fraction. Now it may look like one fancy channel, but it is of great use to us. I'll show you this case. I told you in 2009, but this number of the hospital is somewhere around 99. So this guy has been with us in nephrology for a very long time. This registration number is very old. So you see his hemoglobin 9.2. His indices are also normal.
What patient is he?
CR.
See,
Kidney lesion.
CR.
End-stage renal disease, yeah.
Right.
ESRD, end-stage renal disease, he has. So he has a normal hemoglobin. His indices are normal. Now, this reticulocyte, the problem I will tell you, despite Rachna being here, is it's a separate reagent. It's an expensive reagent. So you have two options. Either you charge it to the patient and do all, but you cannot do. So we have to switch on and switch off the mode. Now the problem happens is that technician sometimes forgets and the next 20 samples also run in the retic mode. So we know when to use. So this obviously you lose one cycle, but after we saw that this patient had 9.2 hemoglobin, and okay, they were following it up, wanting to know whether he's on erythropoietin, what they give for kidney disease. They said, should we do a marrow for it? When they asked us, should we do a marrow? Because in our hospital, for the bone marrow, my technician goes to make the slides, so that our slides are all perfect. I said, no, don't, we'll run the retic channel and see. So this is that channel, which I switch off otherwise. I don't use, otherwise I have to answer the cost, yeah. But you see the use, because this is the reticulocyte channel, and I told you this is where the immature reticulocyte fraction is. And you see the platelets also being counted there. But we'll focus on the retic. So now, if you see the previous slide, I was giving you the ranges here. The medium fluorescence and the high fluorescence. This is normal. Normal, all of us generally will have low fluorescence. See this person, he has a lot of immature reticulocyte fraction, which means that his erythropoietin is working. It is responding. So we said, hold on, maybe he has some sort of refractory, he is refractory to erythropoietin, but don't subject it to marrow, because we are all, on dialysis. And going by this, we monitored him for next, I think, 3 weeks, and then he was perfectly fine. So we did use it, we use it, but then somebody has to monitor using, unless of course you are so generous as to use it for all patients. This is how it becomes.
How much does the cost increase? Your
And
practice.
If you're doing with a red profile, it works out to somewhere around 80, 85
Per
Per
test
patient.
test.
Yeah,
Without
but
it,
if you,
with a normal differential works out within 30s, na?
30,
Approximately, yeah.
30 and 80 is the difference.
but if you have, we have a whole ward, our whole 8th floor is nephrology. If you have enough nephrology patients, it's a very useful parameter. This is not the same patient, this is another patient, but you see a normal reticulocyte count. These are all the low frequency, which is normal. So using the red channel alone for nephrology, also for marrow transplants, I'll show you, this becomes a very useful channel. So the first novel parameter that I found after so many years was the red channel. So clinical significance of the immature reticulocyte fraction, it is an early marker for evaluating erythropoiesis. Important to see, because what we do, we see response doing the retic stain. First of all, the retic stain is very subjective. I will confess, I have never made that window to see. Only the medical colleges can make that window. We count, we give it to our technicians to count because they are better counting. But the retic really on slide, if you see, increases after 2 to 3 days. But the IRF increases after, it's like a real time, within few hours of getting erythropoietin. And if IRF does not increase, it indicates a lack of response to therapy. And in successful bone marrow and stem cell transplants, IRF increases earlier than the granulocytes. This we are doing. We just finished 210 transplants, marrow transplants in our hospital. So we have been using it for those patients. Yeah. But I also tell you that when I end my talk, there are some parameters which you like to use, the clinicians are not convinced. So the kidney team is very convinced about the the IRF, but somehow the marrow team
people
is not really, they don't care. We report them, but they're not very happy. So, but I'll tell you what they're happy about. So using a novel parameter as a pathologist is not enough. You have to get the feedback from the clinician whether it is helping him or not. So this works very well. If you see the retic count along with the IRF, and you see normal is here, a normal immature reticulocyte fraction and a normal retic count. If both are low, you know it's an aplastic anemia because there is no marrow response, there are no reticulocytes, there are no immature reticulocytes. In hemolysis, both are high. Somehow in leukemia, a reticulocyte count is low, but there is a good amount of immature reticulocyte fraction because marrow is, it's producing something. It's not that it is totally failed like a aplastic anemia. This erythropoiesis, I have never used it in MDS, but this is what the algorithm says. If you use them together, you get a fair idea of where you stand. Now comes this concept, which is extremely important when you ask the concept of anemia of chronic disease. Anemia of chronic disease now is a very loose term because anemia of chronic disease involves two main types of anemias. The anemia of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, and the inflammatory, the anemia associated with the rheumatoid arthritis, the main. But to now come to segregate them, we call them functional iron deficiency. And the main parameter, I will give you the references to differentiate there is something called the reticulocyte hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin that we measure in the blood is generally the RBC hemoglobin, right? But this channel gives you the hemoglobin in the reticulocyte, which is far more specific. So the reticulocyte matures within the marrow earlier, before it becomes yeah. It measures the hemoglobin. So the red HE channel measures the hemoglobin content of the freshly produced reticulocyte and reflects the actual iron supply for hemoglobin synthesis. Now this is a HC-RET parameter, if you see. It's somewhere down. If you notice, here is something called reticulocyte hemoglobin. Again, you are using the reticulocyte channel for this, and I'll tell you the ranges later. But it's reflected. Then if you go to an extent, if you go to the research parameter, it gives you all these, even red HE, delta HE. I will tell you all these indications later, but I told you this is a research parameter. So how do you use it along
Next ones are the research parameters.
Yes. No, you have to go into the research mode. There's another screen. Like the first slide I showed you, there's a reported screen and then there are two. So why do you use it? Because it gives you a diagnosis of functional iron deficiency. What exactly is functional iron deficiency is when there is enough iron, but it is not available for the hemoglobin synthesis. It gives you a diagnosis of latent iron deficiency as in pregnancy, and very important to monitor the erythropoietin therapy. So it is important to distinguish between classical iron deficiency and functional iron deficiency. In functional iron deficiency, you can have normal ferritin levels, but that does not mean that the iron is being available for the hemoglobin synthesis. And another important concept I'll come to, just mention is now the big story about hepcidin. I don't know whether you know, hepcidin was earlier just an inflammatory marker, but now if you Google hepcidin, there's maximum amount of research on it. It is the molecule which is involved in anemia of chronic diseases. Okay, because it's there was a New England Journal review, I think 10 years back, entirely on hepcidin.
It is
If you read that,
something,
it is synthesized in the, hepcidin is a protein synthesized in the liver, which is very important for the iron transport. Now it is the molecule, if you understand iron metabolism, for iron transport. So, clinical relevance of the reticulocyte hemoglobin is two things. That detect early stage of iron deficiency to help you differentiate between classical iron deficiency and functional iron deficiency anemia. And the most important is monitoring of therapy. So this I already said here. Now the biochemical markers that we use, serum iron, TIBC, ferritin, they are only an indicator of the iron supply, but they do not tell you about the iron demand, whether that iron is available for the synthesis of hemoglobin or not. So using red HE along with erythropoietin levels is very important for diagnosis of anemia of kidney disorders, and these are all the guidelines. And now red HE has become important to diagnose, for the diagnosis, because in hematology what happens, we follow the BGH guidelines for everything. How to diagnose a lupus anticoagulant, BGH guidelines. For everything we have guidelines. For thrombophilia, to investigate, not investigate. For hematology, actually easier than the other parts, because we follow the ISTH guidelines or the BGH guidelines, and now the guidelines all state that HE has become an important parameter in the diagnosis itself. There is a reference interval. Of course, everybody states that you establish your own reference interval. I could not establish because I could not do normal. To establish any reference interval, you should run normal samples, but we didn't have that kind of infrastructure to spend, so we go by the standard references, and anything which is below, actually in the British guidelines say below 30 is indicative of anemia, functional iron deficiency anemia. So today's take home message is that the new classification of anemia of chronic disease is actually now segregating it into functional iron deficiency anemia, in which you have insufficient iron incorporation into erythroid precursors despite adequate iron stores. Could be because of block in the iron transport, which you see in infections, inflammations, and malignancy. Hepcidin levels is an important parameter to understand functional iron deficiency.
Ma'am, how do we use red HE for monitoring iron therapy?
How do you use? Because you see resistance to iron therapy. If the red HE remains below 30, you should see that there is a resistance, and there is so much data on the kind of iron, whether you are giving parenteral iron. How, because there are various iron
Even different brand gives different.
Yes, exactly. So this is what we had in the ASH meeting, I think 2 years back, is what kind of iron are you giving? Retechi becomes very important to tell you which brand you should be using.
Okay.
Because there is this,
But when the iron levels are already normal, giving
but
extra
you are
iron.
yeah, so that is the reason you have to stop.
Mm.
Because in our hospital we were doing one, not a trial, it was not a, it was by experience. There is a compound called IV preparation called MC carb. MC carb is given to the patient IV over half an hour slow. And these were all given to the refractory, iron refractory who were not responding to oral. And then they asked us to start doing Retechi, but we were not ready, we were not geared up to do Retechi. Because, see, we are in now an era of a lot of DM clinical hematologists, right? These are not full-time practitioners, they are now focused on hematology. So they come up asking you for this parameter to look for response. And when they give this IV MC carb, they were comparing it with another compound called Orofer XT.
Orofer XT.
Yeah, and they said that Orofer XT actually was working better than this MC carb. Yeah, but I was not prepared to do Retechi for all patients at that time, because then, see, in our hospital practice or everywhere you have a code, right? CBC or hemoglobin. By the time I decide to make a code for Retechi, I would have to, do at least 100 patients and then make my own reference interval. I will show you that's what problem I had with the immature platelet fraction, which I'm doing now. But it is used, and few people, I think only Hinduja is now reporting it. To report Retechi also is, see, to put RDW in a report took so long. It took us years to start putting RDW. So to start Retechi, I will show you for immature platelet fraction. We first have to, we are a 600-bed hospital with so many consultants. We have different categories full-time like us. We have people who admit to educate them. So to do it for only hematology on a non-pharma sponsored like a trial was not possible. But the clinician said that if you had given me Retechi, I would know how to stratify my patients, whether I should give them oral at Orofer XT thing or MCK. Because they become refractory and the Retechi then doesn't rise above 30. They remain stagnant. So below 30 is the cutoff.
I think I'm a perfect case if I discuss my own thing. I am a case of thal minor, and plus sometimes I have superimposed iron deficiency anemia. This is what my clinician says. So when I am also I go to a hair and skin specialist. So he prescribes me iron. Clinician says don't take iron. And then when I stop my iron, I see my hair fall. So I don't know what to do.
So I don't know, in our setup has
So
enough
what
of
investigation will say?
Why does
I
the
would
clinician
say,
stop
yeah.
you from iron?
Because they
She's got
see
thal
thal minor.
But depending on the ferritin
Heart
level, no?
rate,
What is your ferritin level?
Ferritin, it was normal that time. But then I've seen clinically I used to have hair fall. When I take iron and it is all fine.
you should get your Retechi.
Actually, now clinical hematologist is
So I
a
thought
better.
that you are
Actually,
What is your Retechi?
clinical hematologist is a better person to
person to
monitor than.
consult.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so after F channel, we move on to this patient who has Northeast India. Will give you the clue, pallor and jaundice. So we know they're dealing with a hemoglobinopathy. So this is his total count is 56,000. Hemoglobin is 8.3. Parameters are not bad. Platelet is high, maybe because of some reactive forces. But there is no differential count here. So when the machine does not give us a differential count, we know there is something wrong. You see here, it is saying NRBC. No, some RBCs which are lyse resistant.
Oh.
But it's easy to say that you can give 40 per 100 RBC, WBCs or 60. Sometimes you have more NRBCs than and I can't count because I used to have like old time counting. I can't count
Do
them.
you get a corrected count? No?
Yeah. So again, you can see the target cells and the bad RBC morphology. But where are the WBCs to count per 100 WBCs? There are no WBCs to count. Okay, so that was the time when we had the XE. Okay, so we didn't have. Now the problem with XC was translatio is here. Again, you have to have a separate reagent at that time for XC. Now to get a separate reagent only for NRBC didn't make sense to us at that time. Now we are happy in the XN, you get NRBC count in percentage straight. It comes for all patients. You don't have to use anything, any separate reagent. So they have also been kind to us now, giving us a machine where you don't have extra reagents and you have to pay for everything. So this is now my new machine, which gives. So this is a patient with hemoglobin 3.3. Okay, and this was very recent, I think, a couple of days back. And he has so many NRBCs here. So we straight away give the NRBC percentage. In fact, it is interface. So it goes, we don't give per 100 WBC and count it. So now we have an NRBC separate channel. We know that there is a lot of variability when you do a manual count. In the XC 2100 and 5000, there was a specific separate channel and also separate reagent for that. But now we are getting the NRBC count with every machine and it gives you a corrected count.
So after going back to the previous slide,
Yeah.
you had a scattergram which was showing you the immature cells. So those were the blast indicated.
Where? This one?
No. Yeah. The IMI
Huh? Why? Because these guys get counted as
as a
yeah,
immature.
yes,
So that is
yes,
the normoblastic
yes,
population
yes,
that
they
is
are
shown.
there, yeah. I'll come to IMI. I used to find IMI channel. If you notice the IMI, I'll come to IMI later. It was a very useful channel at that time.
At that time, so it is not there
No,
anymore.
it's not there.
What was
That's
that?
why I have said novel parameters into what I think I find novel. Some of the channels which were there in the previous machines I found better for my daily use. Some I find better now. It doesn't exist. Was the immature? I will come. I will dedicate one whole 5 slides to IMI because I used to find it extremely useful at that time. So now we get a good NRBC count directly from the machine. And when do you use them? We know that we use them newborns, young infants, common. But what I did not know much is that and the ICUs use it a lot. They want NRBC count, and I'll tell you there are a lot of publications because they feel that in sepsis, as if NRBC start rising, it is a predictor of bad prognosis. So here there are enough publications saying that NRBCs and if you use transparent receptor studies in thalassemia, it shows, I mean in known thals also, the number of NRBCs is an indicator of how bad their erythropoiesis is. And so the NRBC count shows good relationship with ineffective erythropoiesis in known cases of thalassemia and a marker of poor prognosis irrespective of the status of their organs. So this is important utility in the ICU setup of NRBC channel. So earlier, as in the XC, there was a lot of interference, etc. Now XN gives you a clearer indicator. No false. We have not got any false positive NRBCs in the XC. This is my most favorite topic because I've done extensive work on platelet parameters, and this paper that I presented in Chicago on 19th of May was all my work on the immature platelet fraction, which I find in my current practice is the most important new parameter. So the platelet parameters that we get in the machines, platelet count, MPV, PW, platelet grid, but how much do we really use the other parameters in daily practice? And basically first we should look at the platelet histogram. Now these histograms are based on the size of the platelet, right? And if you go a little further down, they start here, they start interfering with the RBC. RBCs are set between 80 to 250 for macrocytosis. But if you have microcytosis, RBCs start getting counted from 25, 30. Now the problems start here, the platelet count, the discriminator here. Here somewhere you have something called the platelet large cell ratio. Platelet to large cell ratio, PLCR. So here again if you have larger platelets, they are getting counted either in the RBC side.
Talking about Excel.
No, anyway.
No. Anyway.
No, I'm not a brand ambassador for cystic or translatio. Okay, in any platelet histogram,
Even a 3-part,
any
much
machine
series.
this won't change.
It won't change. It's no.
In any series, forget about. We are
PLCR.
talking as
PLCR.
pathologists, yeah. So in the histogram will remain the same.
Same.
Now platelet count size will also remain same. So this is fixed everywhere, and the problems with platelet counts are every. No machine is better than the other.
Some machines have a floating discriminator.
Yeah.
Some
But then that also you have to be very particular
Very-
between
yeah.
the RBC and it is all nice for me to say. This was the time, okay, you want to present at a conference, you are looking fixed at all, but not all the time you're looking at the graphs and the plots, right? So MPV we knew in the old textbooks. I will come to MPV. It is my least. I don't like MPV at all. Okay, a lot of it was said when we were students that okay, there is a high MPV, or you know that there is an immune destruction like ITPs, and low in aplastic anemia or in leukemias. PDW is like RDW. It tells you the degree of anastocytosis. RDW told you the variation in RBC cells. PDW tells you the variations in the platelet size, which is increase in essential thrombocythemia, normal and reactive thrombocytosis, but that's not the way to differentiate. Platelet crit, till now I don't know what is the importance of platelet crit. It's like hematocrit, but gives up no importance. So when you have this kind of a clear thrombocytopenia, you see the platelet, here you see platelet impedance is 60. Okay? You run it with optical, you get corrected. This is the platelet corrected, 140. So this is when the red channel is useful. When you have low platelet, there is some, see the large platelet here. In the platelet O is more specific. So the machine itself has that option to report both. Now this is not, this screen is not interface.
It takes the higher.
The higher
optical
value.
one is the
Optical
more
is,
relevant.
it is, yes, more relevant. In this XE, when I come to XN, I will show you I have platelet F now, which I use, which is much more specific. Yeah, it is far better.
The impedance was not counting the large.
Impedance doesn't count. In
Because
any
they were
of
fixed
the
discriminator up to
questions,
20
Yes.
micron it will
Yes.
count.
Yeah.
Even the aggregated platelet may not be counted as a one, you know, that is a problem.
So was it counting, like impedance is counting large platelets as RBCs?
No.
When-
May, we don't know when. It's not counting at
They
all.
may not count also.
Counting,
Yeah.
just leaving it.
So, no, now you see, right now it's fine, you are getting an MPV, okay, I will show you, no MPV, here, no MPV. So what do? You can't use MPV. To me, MPV is most, I'm sorry, within 4 walls, I said it in Chicago, but most redundant of all platelet parameters and low platelet. Okay? Don't quote me on this, what happens. This is my experience, and I will show you. Whenever I want it, it says 0 or dash. It does not come in impedance, it does not exist. Again, this is so what Dr. Mehta was saying. When you have clumping like this, or when you have spheros like this,
Yeah.
these are okay, at least better spheros. When you have small spheros, they get counted as platelets. So you can get false high
Even
platelet, you
in
can get false
thalassemia
low
minor,
platelet.
you get so many
Yes.
platelets.
So that's the
Yeah.
discriminator which is going with the
Yeah.
microcytic RBCs and
Will be
large
counted.
platelets. And
7,
overlap is there.
7 like 8 platelets.
So then came the concept of this reticulated or immature platelet. Like our RBC reticulocyte count, you have a reticulated platelet also. The
Which
most
is large in
immature
size.
platelet, which is the most immature.
Immature.
So how is it getting counted? Again on the dye, it has RNA, right?
Optical.
So that is what it is counting, the reticulated platelet. And increased number of reticulated or immature platelet reflects the rate of thrombopoiesis, increases when the platelet production rises and decreases when there's a problem with the production. Okay, so again we were not using platelet O like that anemia of chronic disease chap I told you, they put off the red channel. Now this is one refractory ITP with a platelet of 0. No platelet count at all. You concentrate, it's the same patient. I will take you for the next 3 slides, which is 198 on 6th of September. He had come earlier, 2 days back, we had 1000. Okay, so this is on 6th of September, on 2nd of September when he had come to us, he had 1000. You see, they must have given him steroids because his count, your count has gone up on the 9th, on the 8th, it's 19,000 with neutrophilia. And here. So on day 1, this slide is not in order, his 10,000 count, he has 1,000 platelet. Then his count goes up with steroid, but his platelet is like 0. So at that time, when we said, okay, now let us look whether we should put on the red channel and see whether platelet O will give us some better information. But it has gone up only to 3,000. So when you have very low platelet, I did not find platelet optical to be of much use. I stopped using it. I will tell you every parameter that I thought was of use to me, and so I didn't, while monitoring them, then because 1,000 and 3,000 makes no difference to the patient, but makes a difference to my cost. So I didn't use it for monitoring the ITPs at that time.
So when
But
do you put on the red channel? What reporting of platelet makes you use the red channel?
didn't.
No.
From my
So
experience,
now
I
how
didn't.
do you use for platelets? When
I
do
would
you-
not, see this is now redundant. We are in this 2009 cases when I was using the XC. Now I will show you what I have. Okay, I have platelet F, which I am using for all now. So this is everything that was considered newer parameter. Unless I thought it is giving me some benefit, I didn't use it. Because this was the ideal case. If I tell the patient, if I tell the clinician that the platelet is 1000 or platelet is 3000, it makes no difference. It makes a difference between that 60 and 140. When there are, so in the monitoring of ITP, no.
Doesn't know sense.
But in large thrombosis, I'll come to that now. I have lot of problems with these large platelets.
Right.
Okay, or now in dengue time.
Hmm.
You see the problems. I don't know you.
Lot of-
I am the most hated person during dengue time because they say morning you said 12,000, now you are
Yeah,
saying 40,000.
80,000. Yeah,
my time
everybody
is
is facing
come.
the same
Today I am feeling very good. Whole of July, September, my hospital hates me because they say your lab gives all sorts of funny platelet count. I think that happens everywhere during the dengue season. So here, this is our case. From ITP patient, she delivered an ITP baby also who had a low platelet. But if you see her, we didn't have any problems monitoring her. Her platelets were low. We always got an MPV. We always got her values. We knew she was in. Nobody panicked. Thrombocytopenia used to come. Her flag, her histogram was also pretty okay. So in these times, it's okay with low platelet. You check the slide. You don't have to panic. But sometimes when you get this low platelet, such a dirty graph saying abnormal distribution, no MPV, we know that this is not truly 59, it must be little higher. Because when you have all normal size, genuinely low platelet, you get the indices. It's not that MPV doesn't come all the time. But these are cases when when you see the slide, 44 will remain 44. You don't change. And nowadays, changing also is actually not recommended. You put a note saying that there are giant platelets, but don't manipulate the count manually. Because what you may count as 5,000, I may count as 10,000. There is no reference. Really a good journal saying that how do you count manually. My one technician who's from Vellore says one platelet is 10,000. Another technician who's trained in Chennai says no, one platelet is 15,000. So, but then you'll never get a proper reference as to how do you do manual count on smear, not ammonium oxalate.
So Dr. Agarwal always tells, don't treat platelet, treat patient.
Yes. So don't look at the smear and give approximate count. Maybe although most of us are still doing it.
It is a famous dialogue he says, always. You can don't treat platelet, treat
You
patient.
put a comment saying that there are giant platelets, but don't manipulate based on the leishman stains. So then this, as I said, is now my most favorite topic on immature platelet fraction. And there are lots and lots of articles that say that immature platelet fraction is the most important monitoring of thrombocytopenia to any reason, and I will take you through that. So it's an immature platelet fraction is like the reticulocyte platelet, but now not in the red channel. It has a different fluorescence method of counting. I will show you this. My slides on that. There's an inverse relationship between the immature platelet fraction and the platelet count in ITP. It reflects the severity of platelet destruction, and it is of course low in any suppressed marrow. They have done lots and lots of studies showing the highest immature platelet fraction is seen in any sort of destruction. Again, it's a guide to transfusion requirement after hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. There is a paper from the Hinduja people during the dengue monitoring. They used this immature platelet fraction to monitor the recovery. And so we looked a lot. Again, if you compare it with any other indices, it comes out reigns supreme over the others and shows that it rises before the total platelet count and no change in MPV and platelet large cell ratio you get in any other disease, including chemotherapy or BMT or total body irradiation. And it correlates well with immunological method. This I say because this machine, Celldyne Sapphire, uses platelet CD61. I think it's an Abbott machine. They use a dedicated channel using antibody. That's also pretty expensive to do, but CD61, which is a marker for platelet, correlates very well with platelet fluorescence. In fact, platelet fluorescence is far cheaper to do than using CD61. But the Sapphire has a default way of using CD61 for all local platelets. So So in this XN we have a dedicated channel. This also requires a special reagent, but it is worth, the special reagent is really worth it, especially in the times when you have low platelets. So now, to complicate your life further, we have 3 ways of, you were saying O, but F is of course the most specific, platelet F. Okay. This is all I have now come to our thing. So these are our cases on the XN. And we started noticing that when we have low platelet, we were not getting an MPV. Or we didn't know what to do. We started using this, doing the, and here, I'll just show you the screen first. So here in the platelet F, no, you get an IPF, which says 27.3. Okay, just stay with that number. Now we didn't know how to use the numbers because we didn't set our range. And we wanted, there are lots of studies saying that platelet IPF normal range is between 1 and 8 or 1 and 7. Hinduja had already during the dengue paper established their own range with 100 patients saying between 1 and 6 point something. Again here, we were
Does it
looking,
not have a normal standard range?
Yeah.
Normal range, standard
Yes.
normal range
it's still 7.
still.
Yeah, 1 to 7 is what is
But then you
published.
mean to say that you should establish your own for your population of patients.
I will tell you why I established my own. So this is your platelet F. Now this patient had on platelet normal impedance around 70,000 count. When we ran his F, it became 114 here. But look at the IPF, very high.
30.
Yeah, very high IPF. So during this looking at IPF, no, he said, we were getting more and more convinced by that image of platelet fraction and platelet F has some value. So I said, let us set up our own range first. Because being an NABL assessor, going everywhere and asking, have you established your, it was just out of interest, we said, let us see. So how do you establish normal ranges from anywhere? You take from health check. That's where, or you ask your own staff to do it. But my own staff, I have bleeded them to death because for platelet aggregation, I always want 4 tubes from a staff. So I said, okay, we'll start taking from health check.
What is health check, ma'am?
It's a routine health check
Oh,
where
excellent
normal,
panels
so-called
and
normal
all.
patients will come to your health check and give
So
you
you should
CBC.
average it from there.
Yeah, because they are considered to
many
be a normal
patients?
population. Coming to that. So when I started the study, I started getting all sorts of. So daily we said we will run around 100 samples from health check. Daily we have around 40. And we started seeing the values. They were going all over the place. Like you and I would have IPF or platelet F, normal platelet, IPF say around 7, 8. And suddenly one day one IPF, and they have no names. They are basically on barcodes and numbers. One IPF would come around 20 or 30. And we started seeing according to the names. And there would be a Roy. Is there any Bengali in this group? No. There would be a Roy or a Mitra or a Datta. And then we realized that this IPF is going all over the place because of the Bengali population. Now there are papers published already from the Vellore group that the Bengalis have larger platelets and their platelet range is also lower because they have something called asymptomatic constitutional macrothrombocytopenia. It has been reported as Harris' syndrome. What the CMC Vellore people saw in their blood bank population, that they had 2,000 something donors. A lot of, you see there's a train which comes from Calcutta to Vellore and it's called the Bengali Express. If you go to Vellore, which I go once in every 6 months, you will find a whole lot of West Bengal there because they all come there for, especially for hematology. They have a lot of hemoglobinopathies. They come there. They noticed in their blood bank donors that their Bengalis have larger platelets. So they published it saying this is called Harris' syndrome because this resident called Naina Harris found it and he took Dr. Maman's data and published it also. And he's got it in American Journal of Medicine, in JAMA, just as letters. At the same time, there was a lot of studies coming out from the Mediterranean population that they also have larger platelets, but they have a genetic abnormality. So when I said, why is mine? Because we have a lot of Bengalis. In the 40, every day we have 4 or 5 Bengalis. I said something, this is a smear from the West Bengal, one of the health check patients. You see targets, so you know they have a thal trait or something. You see the size of their platelet, it's like a lymphocyte, larger than a lymphocyte. So then we said, that big. Oh, they sent me to Chicago with a proper presentation, I will show you. It was just our observation, okay? And
So I would have passed it off as a degenerated cell.
Wow.
they have
Something like that.
All three are platelets?
Hmm.
no, that's a lympho. That's a lympho.
Can you come back to this slide?
Yeah, I'll come back to there are more. There are more of them. So we said now if we have to establish our normal ranges, we will take only local population. And our locals does not mean that they are from Karnataka alone. They are basically we have a Tamilian, Telugu and Kannada population. So we said okay, we will take only our population and establish our range. And then we'll separate out all Bengalis and see what they are doing. Now, what happens to these patients from West Bengal is that they have a platelet count of 80-90 on the slide and they will be sent to hematology. And again we have to make a slide and then write, oh, large platelet scene. We know this, but a lot of people don't know. And the problem with these patients is their doctors would have told them that in Calcutta, that there is nothing to worry about, but they will come to this big hospital just for us to tell them there is nothing to worry about.
So 80-90 is normal in those people.
Absolutely normal. So then we said, okay, let us see whether we can help them. Instead of every day they coming up to the lab, we will establish a range for the Bengalis. And so we took 100, from the health check, we took 100 patients from West Bengal. In that, you'll be surprised, we got only 20 normal. We got only 20 from IF. So we took 108 normal. We developed our own range for ITF, which came to 0.7 to 9.1. Little higher in Japan and all, it's 8.9. It fell within the range. This was our range for our local Karnataka population. Then we took the Bengalis, we got only 97 at that time. 20 were totally normal, we took that population. But even in that, we have a higher IPA. Now this was well documented earlier that from the CMC publications that they are asymptomatic because they are totally symptom free. And if you see this, there was already a publication this year which came out in 2015, important one here, in European Journal of Hematology, which said that they have some cytoskeletal protein abnormality in their platelets. So we had read this article. Now we are trying to work upon the fact that they have some abnormality. The only gene which is MYH9 which has been reported with low platelets does not exist. This group from SAR Institute of Astrophysics has done some work. So then we went ahead and said, okay, they have now. We got 77 with low platelets. These are all normal coming to health. Look at their asymptomatic constitutional macrothrombocytopenia. In my lab now, even my technician will say, Madam Bengali aa gaya, uska karna hai. Okay, so this is what the disease is called. I mean the syndrome is called asymptomatic constitutional macrothrombocytopenia. Jyoti, I started late. I saw Jyoti, I started late. I started late.
Yeah, okay.
Is it only the Bengalis or the entire North?
No,
It's in Assam
no.
also. We get cases from Assam
Yeah.
also. I've been in the army for the last 30 years and we've been getting cases from Assam also. Assam regiment, so patients, their families,
Yes, they have
wives,
it, yeah.
they have it.
So our
Very common.
So ma'am, why have you segregated West Bengalis and ACMT?
normal,
Normal.
yeah. All of this will have it.
Okay.
So, but for me to say that the ACMT has, I should have some normal control
SCMT.
arm also, right? So actually, this map we were going to extend. Huh? Yeah, it also happens with Kashmiris. Last year, ASH meeting has a whole data from the Institute of Sharia Kashmir, but they send their samples to an institute in US to do some genetic studies. I have no genetic studies to see what can happen. But when I presented this paper in Chicago, I had so many requests for people asking me to send them samples. Now that I can't do from a corporate hospital. They all want to do studies to see what can be done. Yeah, because 800 samples went from Srinagar. They were analyzed. So Kashmiri population also has this large platelet. So then what we started doing, we established a range for them. Now when they've come to us, and this is interesting. See, this is a West Bengal and Bengal, if you see the distribution, we didn't find much difference in the platelet I and platelet F.
Right.
Yeah, not much, but they have a large immature platelet fraction. So that was not so, it was statistically significant, forget statistics, but they are all around here. Whereas if you see their IPF goes all over the place. And if you see the blue, are all the ones which there was no entry. So that's why I said MPV does not help me at all in these large with our platelets. It is the IPF. So we started reporting IPF. Now what we do is a patient from West Bengal, our health check. So this poster, we took the prints and put them in health check. We put them in general medicine and said, don't bother us and ask us to review the slide. Please don't tell us. We will give you the platelet count, and we have a big disclaimer with the relevant publications that the IPF is large. So don't worry about them. They are functionally all right. They are not going to bleed. They are asymptomatic. Please send them. But the problem with these patients is the doctors would have told them the same thing
Same
in
thing.
Calcutta,
They would
but they come all the
reconfirm
way
it.
to get that same,
Endorsement.
Then when we released this information to our clinicians that we had started using IPF in monitoring, that just last week we had this elderly patient who just had mild fever, but when they did his count, his platelet count was 16,000, OTPT is mildly high, NS1 came negative, IgM was negative, IgG came reactive, mild acute system cut off. So this clinician came to us and said, can you help me because I don't want to give him steroids. He's old. If he has dengue, I don't want to give him steroids. But even the dengue is not fitting because the OTPT remains same. It didn't really time. So he was in our hospital for so long till when he didn't come to the clinician didn't tell us because we have still not. We just started on 2 days back billing them for IPA. All this while we were doing it free, and until we had the confidence. Yeah, which platelet effort requires an extra reagent. So we were going to tell the management that you increase the cost by 10 rupees, we can give it to all, or let us see how. But until we had confidence about our own range, and in the meantime this paper happened in Chicago, then we said we'll come back and see. So we, by word of mouth, started telling pediatrics. Entire oncology was using it. But this was general medicine. First time he said, can you help me? So we started doing IPF for this patient. If you see, there is a platelet count, and started doing his IPF. And it was high. The IPF was around 18. Then it was sort of plateauing, but his counts were not rising. So I think on 4th of June is the time he gave him steroids.
Okay.
And then the platelet count started going up, and IPF plateaued around 6. And this is his count when he was discharged, 97,000. IPF came to normal. We said, okay, now he may not respond or whatever, but time to send him home. And he was giving him some small doses of steroid because he had other comorbidities. So this clinician came back and told us that to start a code. He came and told us, I want to start sending all my patients for IPF because dengue season is coming. And that is why now we have started doing IPF, and I feel it's of great value for dengue, for ITP, for oncology, and for those Bengali platelets. So
For neonatal thrombocytopenia,
we have not started using as yet
We've done
for
it.
neonatologists.
In fact, we did NPV before the IPF came, and it is so important because in a neonatal thrombocytopenia, you're not going to do a bone marrow to know the cause of thrombocytopenia. Whether
But
it
do you
is
establish your own range for neonates? I don't have any range.
Yes, not for IPF. That's what I'm saying. Now IPF should be done. World over, people have done.
Should be done.
But we didn't have a equipment which was doing this. We were doing it with NPV, and it even determines the amount of transfusions,
Yes.
platelet transfusion the neonate will get. Because in an adult with thrombocytopenia, you do a bone marrow, you say it's ITP. It's megakaryocytic thrombocytopenia. But here, raised NPV says that it is peripheral destruction of platelets. Marrow is okay and it's peripheral destruction.
But you know-
And if you have a normal NPV and correspondingly IPF, it means it's a child with a constitutional problem. Maybe it's an IUGR or some congenital viral infection which is suppressing the marrow. So, and it's very important for neonatologists because they decide the amount of platelet transfusion because the life of the platelets is determined by the NPV.
So Jasmina presented an MPV range for pediatrics in Chicago.
In fact,
The
I
same
wrote an
meeting.
editorial on
They made
in vitro platelets, and if you don't have the equipment doing IPF, because most people may not be
Will
having
not
by
have it,
MPV, just simple MPV, you can pick up immature platelets, young platelets, and MPV has a major role also in helping pick up aspirin and clopid resistance.
Yeah, that's a
Patients-
separate issue, but I'll tell you,
No, no, I'm just
MPV,
saying.
you do not get MPV all the time. We are having,
No,
you
no,
get a
see
dash,
these,
you
then
get a
you'll get a
zero.
dash in MPV
Ah.
in the machines which are giving IPF.
Correct.
But the equipments which are not giving IPF, MPV will always come.
No, so what?
That is the issue. See, now we've got an XN. Whenever it's giving IPF, when the MPV is raised, it doesn't give.
It doesn't
going
give,
to the
yeah,
IPF.
yeah.
We've started working on a XN. But going back to the other machines, whether you go to the LX780 or you go to the other equipment, it is the NPV. And the NPV is always there.
Okay, if we had a
Ma'am,
problem,
Someone
even with
doesn't have the
XT,
equipment,
even with
yeah.
XT also MPV isn't there most of the time.
It's not there,
When
yeah.
there is a problem.
In
Even with
world
XT.
over, in
I have
world
worked
over,
with
no
XT,
click.
No,
KX, and now we are
but
shifting
in
to
LX
XL.
780 and all, there's no problem.
So I will work with
So,
computer.
people
Jyoti,
do not have
we will
that.
we'll have to eat it to you all because Mr. AKG is asking me.
Chalo,
to
chalo.
talk.
We'll finish.
So, okay, I'll go shortly through the WBC series. We spent a lot of time on the NRBC Direct
I have
channel.
a request, also at the end summarize everything. We've
Yes.
gone through a roller
Yes,
coaster.
yes. So that's what I told you.
This is blood count popular.
It's there on the pen drive. It is already there.
All the
On the pen drive.
presentation.
Okay, so
Okay, this presentation will be getting.
I don't
Yes,
know,
yes, you will be getting it. Yes, yes.
Is it blood count popular?
Oh, we have given it to
It's already
Suvin.
given in the morning.
सुवेन शाह को दिया सुवेन शेट्टी को
Suvin Shetty.
शेट्टी को दिया
Get it.
I had sent it 2 days back.
Yeah, yeah.
So whether they give it to you or not, I don't know.
No, no, the whole purpose was that.
They have already been given the pen drive.
So it is there.
I had sent it to you. Okay, so I'll go through the WBC series
Just summarize it.
to tell you. Yeah, one slide I have. What I find useful and what I don't find useful. So, in the WBC, of course, we know that what is a piece of flow cytometry method. You have scattered lights. Why this is important is because you get RNA, DNA information from the site fluorescence, internal set structure from the site scatter, and this is basically you have to look at the scatter and the cell size information from forward scattered light. So I'll just go through, this is how the scattergram looks if you see the WBC channel, and this is how it differentiates. These are the lymphocytes, monos, neutrophils and basophils in one channel, and then eosinophils.
And the
Can I know how much time I have? This is only WBC scattergram. All debris is gone down.
You have 15 minutes.
Boats are all here. Because they're all lights, right? So that's all. So now I have 15 minutes.
Yeah, 1-5.
So this is how our normal scatter looks. This is again my work on the X3 over here. And when Meenal was asking about the IMI channel, now we'll focus on the IMI channel. And I'll tell you how I use the IMI channel. Again, we are back to the time when I was alone. And so me and my technicians are trying to work out a formula in which they stress matter less so that we shout less. So we have a 52-year-old male with heaviness in the abdomen. And this is his WBC count. No differential here. Platelets are normal, hemoglobin is normal. So we have a high WBC, a guy who's saying he has a heaviness in his abdomen, which means he has a large spleen. He has high WBC, normal hemoglobin, normal platelet. And this, okay, I have to tell you what is IMI channel first. In the IMI channel, what happens is you get all immature WBCs. Okay?
It
So-
stands for I.
Immature, full form I don't know, it was
Myeloid.
immature myeloid. Yeah,
Myeloid.
myeloid. That is a channel which is, it makes it a dedicated channel for immature WBC. So if you keep in mind that all immature cells are here and the mature WBCs are here, and if you look back, you can make a differential diagnosis of what it could be. Platelets are normal, hemoglobin is normal, and he has this CML. Why we look at this is because in our, see, we have an algorithm of working. When we see blast, technician puts an MPO immediately. MPO के बाद we decide for flow. Based on, I don't have such a large panel that I can do the entire markers. So once I put MPO, then we decide flow. Would he do an MPO? No. He's going to check his pH for doing a relative score. So that's how we work in our lab. We looked at this channel and said, okay, right now we just look at this slide. We are not going to put an MPO immediately. So IMI, very useful. We know it's a CML. Same patient, if I to say the same age with a heaviness in abdomen. If you look at the IMI channel here, is there any differentiation? No. So you have a very high count, a low hemoglobin, but all one population. So you know that there is a monotonous population of cell. You know that it is not going to be a cell. It can be an acute leukemia, it can be a CLL. I mean, only two differentials, right? But there's a large spleen, so unlikely to be acute. Let's see. So, okay, we'll go through. This is the same patient. If you see this patient, 493 is his number. He came on 13th of August. He comes back on 27th of August, but he's been getting some treatment all around lymphomas. Still doesn't mean anything, but he has some differentiation coming here if you compare it with this. But you know that there is no left shift at all. CLA. So I used to find the IMI channel really useful at that time. Same patient, if you see, then his counts reduce, and some differentiation, but no, sometimes you don't get, when he begins to differentiate, you don't get the DC. But his counts have come down within 2 weeks. Now this is interesting, he's a software guy who underwent bone marrow transplant with us. He used to walk in, you know, these patients who get treated for leukemia for long and then they undergo BMT, they become like part of the family. They'll walk into the lab, and we lost this patient, but I will tell you what was interesting about him is that after finishing transplant, after finishing everything, one day he walked into lab, he said, I have fever. And he got married after transplant. And this is his WBC count, his platelet was low. And he came and he told me, Madam, yahan kuch gadbad hai. It was very sad because he relapsed and then he passed away. But you see, when they walk into your lab, because they come every day, even if his wife used to come into the lab, and he noticed him, because we always went and looked at the scatter and said, go. They come only for CBC or WBC. See, the machine shows you, but what they come is just for total count or only for platelet count. And but we could notice that because the lower it goes, we know that there are blasts. If it's higher, they are more immature. Similarly, another patient, a young girl, she's alive. Yeah, here. See, she has a big population. Her count is okay. Platelets are low. A big population here. Yeah. So IMI channel was giving us a lot of information. Then another case, if you see a whole lot of different. This patient is from the ICU. Okay, he's not a leukemia. He has a high count. What I didn't have at that time and what I have now is the immature granules. It would have helped me. It is a great indicator in sepsis. And the last ISL meeting, they said band count is not of any importance. Earlier this would give just band count. Just give IG percentage. Don't give band count, because IG counts the metamyelo, myelo, and promyelo. When we are doing band, is basically only band, right? So it is a specific indicator. I have to rush through IT ratio or automated. I mean, it's very important for the diagnosis of neonatal sepsis. Even in adult ICUs, IG is an important parameter.
What is the ratio?
IT ratio is used in the ICU. Total IG count into 100 upon total neutrophil count. But IT ratio somehow has been restricted only by the ICU people.
In
NICU. In the NICU.
NICU people
Yeah.
always want
Only
IT
NICU.
ratio,
Yeah.
and every lab gets their cutoff. You know, like
Yeah.
for each lab is a cutoff. Where beyond that, it's 99% likely to give you either do your ROC curves from known cases, and you have a cutoff of IT ratio. So they know beyond that, even if the child is okay, likely to go into if it's a
Sepsis.
premature baby, likely to go into sepsis.
And
So
important
the
thing-
neonatal neonatologists are very particular about getting an
Yeah, for two reasons. Ek to blood culture comes late, and in our setup, I don't know, mostly in many setups, ICU charges are also more than
Very
the lab.
expensive.
Yeah. So
Everything.
if you order a
Everything,
procalcitonin or a CRP, it comes out more expensive for them. IT ratio works out better, you know, and so we give it first, and sometimes they don't order the other things also. But somehow it has been restricted only to
higher the
neonatal.
IT ratio,
Yeah,
It's more
sepsis.
into
so it's
sepsis.
more towards
Yes.
sepsis.
The cutoff is
We have derived our own cutoff. It's fed into the 2.5.
3% or so.
So, okay, I'll rush through some of the work that we
3 to
did
5%.
with some flagging that we saw in the XE. And so, if you see this patient, small child with pallor and fever, low count, low hemoglobin, look at the eosinophils here. I wanted to focus on the eosinophil population for the next 5 minutes. A distinct red population here is the eosinophils. Okay, so it correlates very well. If you see this here, eosinophilia. Another patient, you see this eosinophil population. It's not away. It's sticking to this neutro-baso population. It's not a distinct population. The machine is showing 12.9, but there was no eosinophils in the peripheral blood. These are all MPs. So this we noticed in our XT. We didn't on XC and
Ma'am, in
the
XT
also.
even you don't get any parameter in WBC when you see a
I'll
lots
come,
of malarial
I'll come.
parasite.
So this is why, so I'll talk.
That is what I always face.
I'll show you. We have 4 different patterns of eosinophil. Malarial parasite, yeah. So this is pseudo-eosinophilia. There were no eosinophils.
They might come out as pseudo-eosinophilia, they might not give any differential count because that doesn't get lysed, I
So I'm going to
suppose.
show you that. I'm going to show you. So we got this. So earlier patient when we saw nice
And we
population.
found somewhere in between the two cell populations,
Who?
and mono somewhere. And the that's
No, that is actually. So my technician said, Madam, once you said kissing, I just said the eosinophils are kissing the basophils. So now they will start saying, okay, Madam, kissing. But it doesn't happen on XN. It used to happen only in the XC. This is one. Then either this is also low platelets, no WBC.
Yeah, that is
no
most
differential.
often I used to
No
get in my
differential. And
XT.
this is my XT.
I used to get
See,
in my
why
XT.
I encourage people to, this we had noticed from this time, but we kept quiet. We thought we were making a mistake, or we
No,
our
no,
mistake
madam.
was
In
wrong.
Coulter series also I presented that thing that
I
I don't get anything on with malarial parasite. I come to know जब कुछ नहीं आता, normal count है
Yes.
platelet it is
Yes.
malaria.
So this again we saw the different patterns, and you see this this little dumbbell kind of funny shape here. It's not a clear population. No differential. This is an MP. So we just saw. If you see, this is only 1 month's data that we saw. We looked back whenever there was no. This is see when a clinician makes a request for MP, we do a QBC.
Okay.
These are all the cases where no NP was asked for. Yeah, this is just because I am training my technicians to look at the scattergraph. We do QBC, we do thick film. But for that you have to ask. 600 cases now I am not going to start doing. So we looked at the patterns and for 1 month alone. But the date is important because our malaria time has started in Bangalore. It's around May of 2012. Low platelets. If you see this eosinophil 18.8 and one funny and even in the WBC baso channel, there's something odd. This was a malaria here. Again, low platelet. Different patterns here. You know, one blue here, one blue here, low. There's no business to be so unclear here. This again was a malaria. This kind of dirty scatter, no differential as doctor was saying, no differential.
No differential.
And normal platelets. So when the platelets are normal, very rarely
Well,
get an
you don't
NP.
expect
But
it even.
This is telling you, if everything is normal about this patient, why is there no differential? There should be a differential, right? But this is a very bad scatter. Again, this was a malaria. Here again, this eosinophil. So we started noticing various patterns of, or this, 3 kind of different populations and no differential. Absurd. No
Is it that
neutrophils.
the parasitemia is so high that the cells are like
No, madam. Thing is that
So the
SLS does
hemozoid-
not lyse them properly, and that's why they don't give the count.
Not necessary. Even the hemozoin pigment.
And that is what I
It
came to
refuses
after
to
studying
scatter.
lots of those. I came to understand this is the reason.
Yeah.
So
The lighting agent may not be working
the
properly.
lighting agent, but also the
Hemo-
hemozoin
pigment.
it interferes because this is fluorescence scatter. So the whole fluorescence is, that's why you have 3 different patterns, or you have the eosinophil. Basically, it's all the fluorescence principle, right? So we saw that on the XE, we could start
But
looking at.
even were you able to mark out the fragmented cells on XTs? I wasn't able to mark out even in the scatter graph.
So my work is on XE and XN. XT time, we were just into the 5-part thing, trying to understand
Okay.
and get. So we didn't really look that much.
See, because I tried seeing in these malarial slides itself, if the fragmentation is, can we get out from a scatter graph?
Here in XN.
In
Now.
I looked in XT. Now I am going to shift on XN. But in XT I was not able to. That's why I'm asking whether
No,
what
now in
happens in
XN.
XN.
XN now you see. So now we move on to what I'm currently using. That was all my earlier work.
Mhm.
Now with XN, we are just about understanding how malaria comes on the XN. I've not got too much data because we're just 1 year old. But here, this is what we are using. If you see the EOs are still merging here. We just have 2 cases picked up looking at the scatter and
Okay.
going back. But we have not picked up as many cases as on the
In
XT.
XT, I have picked up number of
With
cases in
malaria,
XTs.
we haven't. So right now with the XN, I am absolutely, I would advocate for the IPF. But my malaria pickup, I have come to dengue also.
I
Yes,
haven't
not
I haven't asked for any of the special tests on XN yet.
You must ask.
I am going to study it first. By then I'll ask.
Okay, then I'll quickly go through these flags. Now we started noticing here, and same time around 2009, a lot of these basophil counts, no? High basophilia, going into the atypical lymphocyte
Yes.
population. And what were these basophils? Were actually all reactive lymphocytes.
Lymphocytes. That's a very common problem.
Here again, 11.1. This whole population, pink population, I showed you the scatter is all atypical lymphocytes, but going into the basophil population. We went back to the Q flags
Okay.
because the machine has this system of looking at Q flags to differentiate whether there could be atypical limbs. You can read it up.
It's in
We
Excel,
couldn't-
no?
Yeah, in all the in XE also.
I
But
wasn't
looking at
using
two flags,
it.
we couldn't make out whether they're atypical lymphos or blasts because you get the same thing for atypical lymphos and blasts.
Okay.
I have never seen a difference key, it's only blast. See the cutoff, I will be very fast now, the cutoff here is 100. This is all clean. Anything in green is that it's normal, anything in red is something abnormal. But whenever there is atypical lympho, even the blast fills up.
This is
So
a
I could
research-
not use,
research
yes,
mode.
it's written there on top Q flag, you just click on Q flag, you get it. So we started screening the smears and what we noticed is that too many patients with, see the 6.6 an atypical lymphocyte. So we started looking at the charts of these patients and then we started looking specifically at patients who had low platelets, who were showing a basophilia flag and who had a high hematocrit. Okay, because if you see the hematocrit at 13.2, hemoglobin, the hematocrit should not be
Yeah,
40.9,
yeah, tell me.
slightly higher. Or hemoglobin of 10 and 34 is also slightly higher. And these are all with low platelets, all showing basophils flag. Here again, look at this 11.9 and 38 hematocrit.
You text
WBC2, platelet low. Again, look at the basophil flag. And it was not a basophil, it was a reactivity. So then we saw all these cases. We went back and saw what was this basophilia coming and we realized most of them were dengue. These were the tests that were ordered. The tests that were ordered for them. So out of 4,540 patients, so many were ordered for chikungunya, leptospira, brucella, I don't know why clinicians order. Cultures, look at the amount of cultures. Almost all these patients have undergone cultures. So we made our own, we went and saw all the charts. And I got interested in this because at that time my own mother was admitted with dengue. So sitting in the hospital, I said, okay, let's go. We are electronic, you can see all the records, we have access. And we noticed that all the total pseudobasophilia cases that were getting over 2 years, actually 1.5, these many were actually dengue cases. So the other tests that were ordered were really not required. And this is how the dengue, so this is the WHO algorithm which is given in the book about how the dengue takes its course. So we put our own little thing that we were seeing pseudobasophilia at a critical time of dengue. At the same time when the patient may bleed or go into the shock, dengue shock syndrome. So then we suggested to our clinicians that if we are seeing pseudobasophilia, let it come through hematology. Let us tell you, you do NS1 or IgG or IgM. Please don't do chikungunya, leptospira and brucella. It has no meaning. And we use this even now, but and then we presented this in the International Society of Lab Hematology. I got an award for this on XE, on the using basophilia as an indicator for dengue. I also thought that maybe this, it's not getting lysed properly, this lymphocyte is very different. Send the samples to Institute of Science to see whether they're T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes. We did a lot of work, very enthusiastic. Now I think, and we had a lot of our own conclusions, that the flagging system of XE is little better, little improved. We don't get basophilia in the XN.
Okay.
We don't get
Most
even-
of my
I will show you.
oncology patient have a pseudobasophilia.
XN is a more specific flagging system. They are not going into the basophil population. They are atypical. You see reactive lymphocytes. But now I can transmit, you see when in the XE it was going as 12 and 11. Bizarre, you can't send it because it's all automated. In XN it's all going interface because it's not alarming flags. I will show you my cases of dengue. See, there are atypical lymphocytes, the pink over here, but the basophil is only 0.02. So XN flagging is more specific. It will give you the atypical, but it's not pushing into the basophil. So with the XN, I can give my results online. With the XE, I knew I was seeing basophil, but I had to sit and intervene and do a manual count.
That's what we used to do for
So
all the
this
students.
time, after 3 years of my presenting, that pseudobasophilia is very good. People presented in Chicago that the improved flagging system of XN
Okay.
is not putting them into basophil. So at that time we thought, okay, it is a good indicator. It says it is giving, look at the atypical lymphos, but no. This is a maximum, in XN, this is a maximum 2.7 that I've got
Okay.
with dengue.
So
And this
that
I
is
can
well
release,
within the
2.7
limit
is okay
without
because
review it can go.
platelets are also low. This is a platelet F. No, not F. So 2.7 is acceptable. But that was going bizarre in XE. 22. Okay, it has now the fewer channels I'll go through very fast, which I have not used is the hematopoietic precursor cell because we are using CD34. We finished 210 transplant in our hospital, the clinicians are, I told you, anything novel has to come from the clinicians. The clinicians are not convinced about doing HPCs, they want CD34 counts, we do CD34 counts, but the graft is a very good, the harvest material is very good for our linearity because look at the count, look at 4 lakh count, 18 lakh platelet. So I do my linearity study every time I have a stem cell transplant in case, but I don't do any hematopoiesis count. The XN has a body fluid mode, again I am not using it. People are using it and finding it useful. What is of use is when I showed you those busy parameters, right, in the research mode, is something called the neutrophil site scatter, which gives you, site scatter I told you gives you the information about the granularity, about the neutrophils. If you have hypogranular neutrophils, it's MDS, it's a research parameter. You can use it, you have to use it along with other parameters. You have to see the slide. But it is a good parameter to suspect it could be MDS.
Ma'am, can you elaborate it on that MDS parameter? Yeah.
It used to be called Nutex Nut-Y in the earlier machine. In XE, Nutex Nut-Y, now Nut SSC, site scatter.
Okay.
It just shows you that they are hypogranular neutrophils. Maybe Pelgo-U, maybe any hypogranularity.
See, because in action I didn't find any answer for a MDS. Might be that is
Yeah,
why. Because
yeah.
I was in for it Coulter, they said ki MDS scatter is different
No,
when they
Nutex
reach
is very good. Nutex Nut-Y even in XE, even in XM, this site scatter.
Okay,
It's a
I
very
haven't
good
used
parameter.
it for XT.
But these are all research parameters, so you have to,
You have to go
again,
on.
microcytic, and this is a good parameter. I have not looked at the RBC histogram. If you see the RBC histogram, it says if there is a histogram like that going to the left, you have microcytic RBCs. If it is shifted to the right, you have macrocytic. I have not seen because for me MCV is good enough to tell you. Okay, fragmented red cell is extremely important because how many of us may miss histiocytes? I have not used FRC as yet from the machine. I still use my eyes, but important because for plasma exchange, for plasma infusion, in transplant associated microangiopathies, it's important even if you see one schistocyte for hypertrophy. So fragmented red cells I have not used, but it is a parameter available. Also, red HE I told you, along with red HE is something called delta HE, which gives you difference between RBC hemoglobin and reticulocyte hemoglobin. Again, for monitoring erythropoiesis, I use red HE, I have not used delta HE. Okay, so I'll just tell you, whatever I was showing you seems everything is hunky-dory and automation is fantastic and nice, but it's not always the case. We had this patient who has a high count, small child with skin lesions, everything looks normal, right? But she had only reason I saw her slide was because she was a kid who had very bad skin lesions, I don't know why. And she had this funny eosinophilia, okay? It was severe eosinophilia which didn't get counted at all on the 22 neutrophil population. So we have the facility, we had an NH750 in another hospital, we sent the same sample there. Even they, if you see their machine got the same differential, no eosinophils, but manual eosinophils was 67. So NH78, 750 and the XE both had missed the eosinophils. So all that is automated is not the answer. But yet, as Winthrop says, we have to explore, we have to measure because there is always more to learn. And there are newer parameters, as I said, what is new may not be novel. To me, what is novel may not be new. But that's the reason I thought to myself on the flight, why did I say novel? Because I think that what is new and what excites you is novel. What is new and doesn't excite you is not. So to summarize, as you said, tell it in one line, what I find useful, NRBC channel very useful, IG very useful, red HE and IP. So if you want to ask me the 4 novel parameters which are of great use for clinical practice are these. The other research parameter, well, you can do your research. Let us meet at some other forum and see whether it is of any use. With this, I want you to welcome all of you to the National Hematology Conference. I'm the Joint Organizing Secretary in Bangalore, 4th November to 6th November. Thank you very much.
Swati is a very big artist. She is also an Odissi dancer. Oh, yes.
Good.
Novel everywhere.
Yeah.
State artist.
Enthusiasm and knowledge, real acknowledgement, real enthusiasm. Seeing it is.
Yeah. Now we would like to take up the second session, and there are 2 options we have. We can have a session straight away, or if you want, you can have a break of 5 minutes. The option is open. 5 minutes break.